Welcome back to my studying, fellow fans of the written word, DUMAI'S. Oh my. Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later, but first, let's cover a recap for Lord of Chaos, chapters 25 to 56. Nynaeve dealing with her block, and Theodrin tries different methods to kind of get through her, to try and find alternative methods to use one power, because usually, more than usually, each and every time Nynaeve is only able to channel when she's angry. So she gets Nynaeve drunk. Then haggard and hungover Nynaeve accidentally heals Loghain of his gentling. And she immediately sends for Siwan, and then she does the same on Siwan and Elayne. Although with a slight difference, a very important one. Unlike unlike Loghain, she doesn't reverse the stilling fully. So they can use power, both of them, Siwan and Elayne, but not to the extent as they could. So naturally that kind of messes with the power imbalance with the sisters. Might makes right and all that. So she is then bombarded. Nynaeve is then bombarded by the yellow Aja members, because they're all surprised at how did she able to do it, what methods did she use, and all that. So they kind of threaten to break her because they want to get all of the information out of her. So, and later that day, Elayne and Siwan visit her. Well, Siwan kind of takes the lead, as she always does, and they want to be healed fully, but Nynaeve explains to them that that can't be done. But there is kind of a silver lining to all that. They both are healed, which was thought to be completely impossible, and they're kind of more on an equal footing now, because Siwan and Elayne extend the hand of friendship towards Nynaeve. So there's that. What else? Well, cut to Rand, and there is a white cloak ambush. Ambush which was of course meant to kill Rand. It was targeted towards Rand, and instead they kill one of the maidens with an arrow instead. So Rand naturally gets angry, furious. He executes most of them. But he sends one of them as a survivor to send the message to Perrin to tell him that he will hang him for it as well. Then Egwene goes to Rand, and she tries to tell him that he should be careful with the Aes Sedai delegations. So they almost unannounced arrive, so Rand kind of does the invisibility trick on her, and they come. And he kind of, I wouldn't say dominates them, but humiliates them a bit, and he tells them that he can feel that they embrace Saidar, and they do try to bribe him and stuff. And later, Rand discovers another Grey Man, and time kills it, I should say, and kind of Tyne kind of gets this idea in his head that he saved Rand's life, which he didn't. I'm sure Rand could have handled that by himself, but whatever. Then they talk a bit about the progress of the students, and he tells to Rand that there is this guy called Narishma who has this spark, meaning that unlike the bunch of recruits that they had, which had to be kind of put through a ringer in order to get some kind of reaction for channeling, this guy Narishma has this natural ability to channel, like Rand or Tame or anyone else. And then we cut to Elayne. She is in Telon Riyadh, and Rand is being a peeping Tom, and as she is summoned to Salidar, he observes. So she goes there physically, and she kind of confesses to lying to Wise Ones about her lack of discipline going on, even though she has been explicitly told not to go and all that. And they kind of have a few stern words with her, but she is, I guess, raised to be Amerlin. They kind of come to a conclusion that she's want to be the new Amerlin. So, which is expected, but I don't think it would happen this soon because it has been kind of foreshadowed previously. But anyway, so her first decrees were fully expected. She raises Nynaeve, Elayne, Theondrin, and another Aes Sedai whose name I can't remember now, to full Aes Sedai status. And Mat kind of makes a fool out of himself because he, when he arrives with his band, he kind of thinks that they're playing pranks on him, and that the girls aren't full Aes Sedai, and secondly, Elayne isn't the new Amerlin, which she is. Back to Rand. Rand sends Mat and his band to Salidar to get Elayne, because he wants to do the coronation as soon as possible. He wants to crown her as the queen, and Avienda trucks along with them because she wants to confess her hanky-panky with Rand, I guess, to Elayne. And I'm not too sure, but I think Lan arrives as well, but that was very crafty by Robert Jordan. But yeah, I mean, that part with Lan is about the most that we see of him until the end of the book, which is not much. So Elayne then is being informed about Moghedien, and because she didn't know that Elayne and Nynaeve had this scheme where they were getting information from Moghedien. And Elayne agrees that there is much to learn from her, and she kind of sets on new policy for the tower, her tower. There will be no more, I guess, such rigidness, and anyone can enter if they want. She also learns how to travel from Moghedien, which ties into something that happened previously. There was a conversation between Rand and Elayne. Before she was being hidden by invisibility, she asked Rand how does he travel, and he explained to her that he kind of Essentially, if you ever seen any of the sci-fi movies where someone explains a wormhole when they get a piece of paper, they fold it, and then they take a pen and bore right through it to kind of demonstrate the folding of space. So he does that. He explains to her that that's what he does. He just bores through it. And since, well, thematically and on a practical level, male and female channeling is done via different approaches. Male is through domination, therefore cutting through the pattern, and female channeling is submission. She asks Rand whether there is something that she could do that would kind of benefit her type of channeling, which he said there isn't any, at least not that he knows. But she does learn from Moghedien that indeed she can do that. Actually, it's a very effective scene between her and Moghedien. I mean, this whole a bunch of chapters, not to get a hold of myself, it's just some of the most effective storytelling, writing, firing on those cylinders so far. But I digress. So, Moghedien and Egwene have this sort of a verbal sparring, I don't know how else to describe it, where Egwene says that if I'm asking you a question, be sure or never be sure that I don't already know the answer, that I'm testing you. So Egwene did figure out the traveling by herself, but she wanted a confirmation from Moghedien. You go, girl. Cut back to Mat, and he is being kind of mistreated by Egwene. So she kind of uses him and his band to repel the rebel forces because she wants to go to Tervalan. And Elayne and Nynaeve, they go to Abu Dar, because Mat, of course, has promised Rand that he will stay with Elayne to protect her. And Anienda spills her guts, proverbial guts, not real guts, and tells Elayne that, yes, I slept with your boy Rand, and here's a knife, stab me or beat me or do whatever. And Elayne decides, no, yeah, that's kind of was a unfortunate move, but there's this girl Min, and in short, join the party. We're a polyamorous quartet, I guess. Min, Elayne, Anienda, and Rand. A happy, not so little family. And Elayne and Nynaeve are pretty harsh towards Mat, and I'm not too sure why. They want to take away his thingy, Terangrial that he has, his necklace that he received, to study it. But the way they go, it is very arrogant. They're like, yeah, hey Mat, you have something that's actually ours and you need to give it to us. Okay, yeah, no, Mat paid a huge price for it, and he didn't steal it from Aes Sedai. It was given to him by the magic, was it cat people, fox people, whatever they were. So back off, please. So Min and the embassy from Salidar, they arrive to Cairhien, and they go straight to Rand. And so there was that. They kind of the meeting is formal but not very eventful, I would say. What matters to me, at least, is that Rand goes to Tame, to the school, which is no longer the farm, it is the Black Tower, which is a very ominous, as I said before, title. Very badass name for a school. Not Randolph Thor's magical school for gifted male channelers, but yeah, that will do. He kind of, the reason why I think this is important, because when he gets to the school, or I should say to the Black Tower, he sees it transformed. The students are no longer students; they are no longer lost and clueless, desperate male channelers. Tame has really brutally trained them to the point where they are forced to be reckoned with. He gives them a name, Ashaman, which is in the old tongue, I think, defenders and those who defend. And to kind of mirror and subvert the tradition of White Tower, he has these brooches made and ranks. In the tower we have, the accepted, the risen sisters, and so the apprentices, and so on and so forth. And here we have two ranks: soldiers, which everyone is a soldier, and a rank higher, which for the life of me I can't remember which is the higher. I think Ashaman. Well, they are all Ashaman. So yeah, and there is that. And then cut to Perrin. So Perrin arrives and has a reunion with Rand. But what's important, at least from Perrin's point of view, is the meeting with Bashir and his wife, or I should say meeting with his in-laws, because yes, his wife, no longer wife-to-be, wife, Fail, which isn't even her name, but it is now, she's his wife. And Bashir kind of takes a measure of him, if that's the right expression. So Bashir is pretty annoyed with Fail's marriage. He kind of starts to threaten him, and Perrin doesn't back down. And they kind of smooth it out because, well, I don't know. If I were mean, I would say they're happy that they no longer have to deal with her. I do think that Fail is annoying. I don't think she is that awful, but there were a few moments, especially between her and Min, where I was starting to think that, yeah, maybe this wasn't such a great idea. I hope that she doesn't complicate Perrin's life too much in the future, even though I have a feeling that she will. So, and also Fail wants to spy on Rand, so there's that too. Perrin kind of makes Fail make a promise not to spy on him, but come on, Perrin, don't be naive. Fail is just gonna send someone to spy on her behalf. So, and then something happens, which is one of the Aes Sedai in the embassy is attacked by a spear, which kind of implies that Rand was behind it, which it isn't. And he has no idea what they're talking about, but I actually didn't quite get who was it, to be honest. I should save this for questions, but still, whose work was it? Whose spear was it? But what matters now, what happens now, is what sets things into motion, which I think changes the whole narrative and the flow of the story. Just this singular thing that happens now with Rand, I think changes the entire Wheel of Time, which is as they the sisters, they tell Rand that it's unacceptable and they will do as they wish from now on. He knows no idea what are they talking about and tries to dismiss them. But then suddenly there's 13 of them, which is the number that is traditionally used to gentle men. Now, 13, 13 of them try to they try to kidnap him, and he escapes to Cairhien, and he takes Min and Perrin and Loyal with him, and he does a mistake, or I should say, well, I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but since the number is 13, he talks to the other embassy of the other tower. He talks to Bera and Kiruna that whenever they are to see him or follow him, they should take 9, no more. And this is something that will be very important in the end, because in Cairhien, Rand tries to put the Tower Embassy off, and Elayne is making Perrin's life difficult again, tries to flirt with him. But the Red Sisters kidnap Rand, and Elayne and Marigyl are two warders who probably have been murdered, which provoked this whole thing. They kind of find him unprepared and shield him. So he doesn't even have his sword. He struggles against them and they kidnap him. And they take him back and intend to take him to Elida, to White Tower. So they torture Rand repeatedly. They just brutalize him. They punish him for trying to escape, for killing warders, and Savannah, the wise one, comes to visit, and which is a surprise because she's a wise one, so what the hell is with that? And then her own wise ones kill her. Just this gruesome scene where they obliterate her fully with one power, like complete disintegration. And what happens next? Well, Perrin gathers the forces. He finds out that Rand has been kidnapped. He gathers the maidens, wise ones, anyone he can get, his own forces, wolves, because wolves are just, there's this badass scene that, so to paraphrase it, Perrin says they have taken the one who destroys the shadow, and they're just like, we're on, let's go. And so they go on a hunt, on a chase. They go to bring back Rand. they catch up with the other Aes Sedai, and the one who are attacked by Shaido, because Shaido, of course, are on the side of this whole mess. And Perrin leads the charge, and Taim arrives there with his Ashamans, and Rand breaks through, and the way he breaks through is, for the first time, well, this is not the first time, but more and more, Lews Therin is no longer an echo in his head, but he becomes more and more aware that he has a separate person right next to him, Rand. So two of them kind of are helping each other, quote unquote, to break through. Because when Rand was being tortured, I think on some level having Lews Therin in his head made him endure the torture, because when they were torturing him, he even smiles in the face of his torturers, through the teeth, of course. So he breaks through the shield, and his attacks are so powerful that he stills the three Red Sisters who were holding him. Even without, I don't think he even intended to do so. He lashed out so strongly that that's what happens. So he just goes on a rampage. I am Lord of the Morning, they will pay, which is just such a badass line. And a lot of people die, of course, but as he goes through the battlefield, he sees Gavin. And Gavin, can I just say, is an idiot. He is just... Has there been any more of a clueless person, of a, not to use the language of TV tropes, not genre savvy? This guy, I swear, in his head, he is probably the hero of his story. I mean, everyone is a proverbial hero of his own or her own story, but this guy, he's just... The lack of self-awareness is just... It's impressive. And he threatens Rand that one day he will see him dead and all that, whatever. What happens next is very brutal, because Taim approaches Rand, and Rand sort of convenes with Roark, and Roark is like, I think it was Roark, a lot of people already died for you. Do you really want to risk and go into the all-out war with the remaining forces of Shaido? Because there are still thousands of them out there. I mean, they managed to break the forces, Rand is secured and all that, but there's still a force in front of them. They have enough time to escape, but and maybe they can win, but it would lead to huge losses. And Rand just turns to Taim and says, teach them a lesson, unleash the Ashaman on them. And what happens next is Ashaman, the male channelers, they act as one, and what they do is just imagine a magical bulldozer crossed with a meat grinder smashing into human flesh. Just, it ain't pretty. It just, a lot of people on Rand's side just vomit because of the scene. It's horrific. It's very effective, it's horrific. It's brutal. And what happens next is the scene, I think, which changes the whole ordeal and the, I guess, the where the story is facing. Not the battle, yes, the battle, but the result is, so the other Aes Sedai, not the one who kidnapped Rand, they didn't really, the one from Solidar, they didn't really help in freeing Rand, because Rand freed himself and his friends helped. and they approach Rand and they're like, well, we didn't really help, but we're here and we're not the ones who tortured you. And Rand turns and says, how many of you are there? 9? How much did I say that you should bring? Not more than 5. Go over there and kneel. And Tame says, kneel before Lord Dragon or we will make you kneel. And this is something that sets the precedent where the Aes Sedai, first Aes Sedai swear fealty to Rand as a punishment. And I think this is huge. I mean, technically, I guess maybe Moiraine was the first one to swear fealty, but I don't think it was like that. Moiraine did it freely and openly, but I digress. And in the epilogue, Egwene releases Logain because the others in the tower, they kind of want to steal him again. Because this was kind of an accident. Maybe a happy accident for him, but they think he is too dangerous and he wants to rejoin Rand. Or join, he never met him. Although there is a moment where he says that when he was, before he was stilled, when he was on the streets and they were parading him, he did feel someone, and that someone was probably Rand because he was just bursting with light. And Moghedien manages to escape and goes to Shea Ghul. And there's that, I guess. And, well, my question is regarding to something similar about healing that I think I voiced, but Nynaeve, as she was thinking about healing and different approaches to healing, what was the reason that she could heal Logain fully and Leanne and Siuan only partially? I am just curious because there seems to be this recurring theme. I mean, even one of the logos is kind of a yin and yang thing of balance, right? Action and reaction, male and female, channeling by submission, channeling by domination. And why is it that she could do it but not fully? What was the aspect that was missing? Is it just that I'm just trying to see the logic here. So I would, before reading that passage, I would think that if you want to heal someone fully, you would need a male healer and a female healer. And we do know that there are male healers. Rand can't heal, but some of the members of the what are they called? Ashaman can, because Tame taught him, and Tame can heal a bit. But then again, Nynaeve all by herself heals Logain fully. And what was the aspect missing, I guess? Next question. So, Nesune, one of the Aja that were the sisters that were in the that were emissaries, she sensed a presence in the room, which was, in her own words, a green Aja. First of all, is this the first kind of case of where we see that someone can sense which Aja the other sister is, which is news to me. But my question is, how is it that here we have a direct example of someone sensing when a woman who can channel, she doesn't channel, she can channel, merely can, is nearby, and yet they find it so inconceivable that a man can sense when they're channeling right in front of him. So they when they sensed a presence of an invisible sister, they could sense there was someone who could use a source. And yet, what makes them so shocked that Ren can do the same? And my last question is, and this is this is more of a, I wouldn't say even open-ended question, just a question for a long-time readers and fans of Wheel of Time. Why didn't Rand kill Gavin? Do you think Rand should have killed Gavin? I mean, did he have a reason to? Gavin worked directly with the nasty red Aja and Gavin and his younglings, which is such a... I mean... Wheel of Time is full of really cool names for organizations. I even like the farm. The farm is an awesome name. I mean, I think it's kind of a cool name. I wouldn't say it's badass, but it's cool. But the younglings, he leads younglings. Maybe my mind has been poisoned by Star Wars. But this was, I presume, before... Yeah, no, I don't presume. This was before the prequels. But still, even before prequels, the younglings. Why would you call yourself younglings? This was just, as a whole, the most kinetic, exciting, hair-raising, energetic, well-paced storytelling from Robert Jordan so far. It was just insanely satisfactory to read. So let's go over things that I liked. First of all, Lewis Terran interacting with Rand directly in a way that would suggest a level of self-awareness. Before that, Lewis Terran was like an echo, a ghost of a past life. Not exactly a fully formed personality. And here we see much more than that. And if I can return to questions, I do wonder if that's going to be paid off in the subsequent books or not. Is this going to be a problem? Will Rand find himself quote unquote possessed by Lewis Terran, who will be aware of the time and place he is in? Second thing that I liked. This is probably unfair to Nynaeve. This is not to say that I enjoyed the torturous moments of Nynaeve's, but they were very amusing because I don't think she deserved the treatment she went through with the Yellow Sisters and how they were out loud competing, how they will break her and make her mad so they could dissect her method of healing distilling. Very amusing, but poor Nynaeve. She didn't deserve that. But she was quite nasty to Mat for no reason. I don't understand why. Also, I can never get enough of new information about the inner workings of organizations in Wheel of Time, especially White Tower. So, Siwan Sanche has been healed, and she has been restored to her Aes Sedai status. However, since there's this legal loophole, a precedent, she considers to switch from blue Aja to green, which would say that since when she was stilled, it kind of reset her status as Aes Sedai. So she is now again Aes Sedai, but I didn't even think this was a thing that you can switch. She considered switching from blue Aja to green, which she ultimately doesn't, but still, it's a tiny tidbit that just adds to the fact that, oh, well, Robert Jordan does think about those things. My mind didn't even go there, which is a plus. Also, to expand on that, I do appreciate that Siwan, as arrogant and confident as she is very, very arrogant. Offering friendship to Nynaeve was nice, even though I think it was kind of a, well, yeah, you helped me, but could you help me more? But still, a nice gesture. It kind of evens them out. They have an equal playing field, more of an equal playing field. I also like, and this is about Ran, how he handled Cairhien, was it her name? So, and Nesune. And there was a third sister that I don't remember. So they are the emissaries and of Aes Sedai, and they offered a bunch of gold to him in exchange to accept an invitation to White Tower. And the way I think he juggled them and bought time for himself, which didn't do him much good in the long run, but still, I think politically he handled it well, and it was well written. It was believable. I like the scene of Perrin, what was his name? Fane, yeah. Fane getting news about the attempt on Rand's life, and then taking it out all on the woman. That was gruesome. Effective, but gruesome. And I said this before, but still, I really like when Mat was making a fool out of himself when he didn't believe that Egwene was the Emerald. And the whole thing about Mat going out dancing and flirting with Siwan on accident was just hilarious. That wasn't his night or evening. And I want to end it with a quote, which I thought was very effective. So, to put it into context, when Rand goes to the Black Tower, and he appears there, and he sees everyone transformed. They're no longer amateurs, and this arrogant guy seizes Rand, and he's like, "Oh, who are you? You've come here to learn channeling, huh?" And Rand very calmly says, "I'm Randall Thor." And internally he says this, and I quote, "Civility costs nothing. And if this fool did not decide it was cheap at the price soon," implying that, well, doesn't cost anything to treat everyone at the base level of decency. And then, of course, well, Tane comes and just smacks the guy. But that wasn't the point. The point was, I liked how Rand was calm, because Rand is many things, but he is not full of himself. No matter how many times Egwene and the others might think. And just outside of Rand as a character, just as a piece of writing, it's a nice sentiment, right? It doesn't cost anything to treat people neutrally. I conclude this section with, DUMAI'S is the hypest thing that ever hyped. And let's move on to what I didn't like. And just two short, very teeny tiny short things. That bit with Min flirting with Rand is fine, but her sitting in Rand's lap to prove that she's a real woman and not a tomboy, even though tomboys, women who... I don't think this was a... What was that? I mean, yeah, Min is great. Min is honestly one of my favorite characters. She's a wonderful character, and that was weird. Just I don't know that whole dynamic towards the end between her and Rand. Not when she was carrying Rand out because he would barely stand after he was tortured, but that was just weird. And lastly, Avienda claiming that Rand has towards her because he didn't say where he was going was just melodramatic and petty. And melodramatic and petty in a way that I think it was warranted, because we've already established these things. We know the following multiple times. 1. Aiel culture is different and dynamics between women and men are different. 2. Avienda, even by the measure of her people, is stubborn. 3. Rand doesn't know how to handle and deal with women. And I could go on, but this has been reiterated by Robert Jordan time and time again between these two characters. But yeah, and that would be it. After this I will review the book as a whole, but whoa, this was great. This was just amazing. And I know that I kind of dragged this out as far as the chapters went, but I want to reiterate that this is not the book's fault. Book is honestly great. It's just life got in the way, and these videos that deal with Wheel of Time do actually take a bit more time than the usual reviews. So thank you for sticking with me and watching me, and thank you, Ethan, for your continued support. I don't know how to express it, but I'm very grateful that you continue to support me on Patreon. This is incredibly generous. And to any of you out there, I hope you're safe, and subscribe and like if you like this, and if you find it possible to support me on Patreon. It's not obligatory. I never want to put anything behind a paywall. Think of it as a tip. And have a good one. Bye-bye.